My name is Natalie Brooks. I'm 35 years old, and for most of my adult life, I believed love was something you held on to tightly, through confusion, through fear, through the parts that didn't make sense yet. I didn't know my life was about to split cleanly into a before and an after the night. My boyfriend said, "I just need time to figure myself out." He said it calmly, too calmly. We were standing in the living room of the apartment we'd shared for 2 years, 4 years together, total. The lamp in the corner cast a soft yellow glow, the same one we'd argued about buying because he said it was too expensive, and I said it made the place feel like home. Ethan stood across from me with his hands in his pockets, shoulders slightly hunched, eyes unfocused, like he'd rehearsed this moment but hadn't practiced the aftermath. "It's not you," he added quickly. "The oldest lie in the book. I don't know who I am anymore." I remember the silence that followed, the kind that makes your ears ring. 4 years. 4 years reduced to a sentence people use when they don't want to tell the real truth. "How much time?" I asked. My voice didn't shake. That surprised me. He exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. "I don't know. A few months? I think we should take a break." A break. Not a breakup. A pause button he expected me to sit beside. I could have fought. I could have asked what changed, what I did wrong, who else existed in the spaces I suddenly felt opening beneath my feet. Instead, I looked at the man I thought I would marry, the man I'd quietly started browsing engagement rings for late at night, and I said, "Take all the time you need." The relief on his face was instant and devastating. That was the moment I knew this decision wasn't new. He'd already left emotionally. I was just catching up. He moved out that weekend. He took his clothes, his books, the framed photo of us from a beach trip where we both looked sunburned and stupidly happy. He even took the ugly lamp his mother gave us, the one I pretended to love because it mattered to him. When the door closed behind him, the apartment felt wrong. Too quiet, too large. Like a stage after the actors leave. The first week passed in a blur. Work, gym, microwave dinners eaten standing up because sitting at the table felt unbearable. Friends asked if I was okay. I told them yes, because I don't know felt like too much effort. The first month was the hardest. I reached for my phone constantly, muscle memory betraying me. Almost texted him jokes, almost bought his favorite cereal, almost forgot that I was no longer allowed to expect anything from him. But I didn't reach out. I meant what I said. If he needed time, I would give it to him completely. I wasn't going to beg, wasn't going to hover, wasn't going to make myself smaller so someone else could feel comfortable leaving. By the end of that first month, something strange settled in. An emptiness, yes, but also a quiet. And somewhere deep inside it, the first whisper of a truth I wasn't ready to face yet. If someone needs to leave to figure out who they are, they're already gone. I just didn't know yet how far I was about to go without him. The second month after Ethan left didn't arrive with fireworks or clarity. It came quietly, like a door clicking shut somewhere in my chest. I stopped waking up reaching for my phone. That was the first sign. The ache didn't vanish, but it dulled, losing its sharp edges. I stopped replaying our last conversation in the shower. Stopped wondering if I should have said more. Stopped imagining him realizing, suddenly, dramatically, that he'd made a mistake. Because here's the thing, no one tells you when someone asks for space. If you actually give it to them, you end up with space too. And space does strange things to a woman who's spent years adjusting herself around someone else's moods, preferences, and fears. I joined a climbing gym in mid-April. I'd always wanted to try it, but Ethan hated the idea. Said it was dangerous, unnecessary, not worth the risk. I'd agreed easily back then, the way you do when you think compromise equals love. Standing there now, chalk dust on my hands, staring up at a wall that looked impossible, I felt something unfamiliar stretch inside me. Excitement. I started reading again. Real books. The kind that left my mind buzzing instead of numbing it. I cooked meals Ethan never liked. Spicy, experimental, messy. I reconnected with friends I'd slowly drifted from, people who didn't define me as half of a couple. Somewhere between month 2 and 3, I realized I was breathing differently. Deeper, like I'd been holding my breath for years without noticing. That's when Daniel entered my life. Not dramatically, not romantically at first. My friend Marcus invited me to a dinner party at his sister's place. A casual thing, nothing fancy. I almost canceled at the last minute. Old habits die hard. Daniel was leaning against the kitchen counter when I arrived, sleeves rolled up, listening more than talking. He had this calm presence, the kind that doesn't demand attention, but somehow holds it anyway. We talked on the back porch for hours while everyone else played games inside. He was recently divorced. honest about it without bitterness, asked questions, and actually listened to the answers. When I mentioned the break with Ethan, he didn't rush to reassure me or criticize him. He just nodded. That limbo stage, he said quietly, it messes with your sense of reality. That alone made me feel seen. We exchanged numbers, texted occasionally, nothing flirty, nothing heavy, just conversations that didn't feel like performances. By month 4, Daniel and I were seeing each other regularly. No labels, no promises, just honesty. And that was the difference. He never made me feel like I was waiting for him to decide my value. That same month, something else shifted. Work offered me a promotion, a meaningful one. More responsibility, more money. And an option I'd dreamed about for years, relocating to the Seattle office. Ethan hated Seattle. Too gray, too wet, too far from his family. I loved it. The mountains, the water, the quiet intensity of a city that didn't need to prove itself. The timing felt unreal, like the universe had waited until I stopped clinging to my old life before offering me a new one. I accepted immediately, put in notice on the apartment, started planning the move for late September. I didn't tell Ethan. Why would I? He'd asked for time. I was using mine. And without realizing it yet, I was already gone, long before he would ever think to come looking for me. 6 months to the day. That's how long it took for Ethan to miss me. My phone buzzed at 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday night while I was folding clothes on my bed, surrounded by half-packed boxes. I was staying at my friend Dave's place temporarily, my apartment already emptied, my flight to Seattle booked. His name lit up my screen. I stared at it longer than I should have. I'd thought about deleting his contact 100 times. Never did. The message was short. I miss you terribly. 4 words that once would have unraveled me. I waited for something. Anger, relief, sadness, hope. Nothing came. Just a strange, hollow calm. I typed back. You probably won't find me where I am anymore. 3 dots appeared instantly. Disappeared. Reappeared. Then the photo came through. It was Ethan standing in front of our old apartment building. Except it wasn't ours anymore. He was holding yellow roses, the kind I loved, wearing the jacket I used to steal when I got cold. His face was streaked with tears, eyes red, hair messy like he'd been crying for hours. My breath caught. The phone rang immediately. I answered, curiosity outweighing caution. What do you mean I won't find you? His voice cracked. Raw. Desperate. I moved out, I said evenly. I'm leaving for Seattle in 3 days. Silence. Then, Seattle? Natalie, what? You can't just leave. You can't just abandon everything. I laughed softly, not cruelly, just genuinely surprised. You left first, I said. 6 months ago. You asked for time. I gave it to you. I thought, his voice faltered, I thought you'd wait for me. That was the moment something in me fully settled. Wait for what? I asked. You never said you were coming back. He rushed to explain then. Therapy, self-discovery, fear of commitment, how he'd done the work. How he was ready now, for marriage, kids, the life we'd planned. I'm ready, he said, for everything. I'm glad, I told him, and I meant it. But I'm not the same woman I was 6 months ago. Are you seeing someone? He snapped. That's not your business anymore. The words stunned him into silence. Then came the calls, the texts, apologies layered with accusations, memories weaponized into guilt. The next morning, I saw him walking up Dave's driveway, still wearing that jacket, eyes hollow, desperation clinging to him like a second skin. 5 minutes, he begged. Just let me explain. We sat in my car. His hands were cold when he grabbed mine. I made a mistake, he said. The biggest one of my life. I looked at him calmly. Why now? He hesitated. And in that pause, I already knew. Ethan didn't answer right away. His eyes shifted to the house across the street, where someone was watering their lawn like this was just another ordinary morning. Like our entire history wasn't compressed into the small, suffocating space of my car. There was someone else, he said finally. The words landed softly, too softly. I felt something loosen inside my chest, not pain, not shock. Confirmation. Her name was Lena, he continued quickly, as if speed could soften the impact. I met her at a work conference in February, before I asked for the break. So the timeline snapped into place. You didn't need time to figure yourself out, I said quietly. You needed permission. He shook his head. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. I pulled my hand away slowly. You wanted to explore something new without fully ending what we had, I said. You wanted a safety net. He started crying then, the kind of crying that makes people feel absolved just for feeling bad. It ended, he insisted. She dumped me after 3 months, and that's when I realized what I lost. There it was. Not self-discovery, not growth. Loss. I'm not your consolation prize, I said. My voice surprised even me, steady, grounded. You're the love of my life, he said desperately. I know that now. Then you should have treated me like it 6 months ago. He reached for me again. I stood up. You didn't come back because you chose me, I said. You came back because your other option didn't work out. That truth shattered him. He begged, promised, offered to move, to change, to become whoever I needed. I opened the car door. You don't want my future, I told him. You want my past. He collapsed against the car as I walked away. I didn't look back. Seattle didn't feel like an escape. It felt like arrival. 3 weeks after I landed, I could finally breathe without thinking about who I used to be. The job challenged me in the best way. Real problems, real autonomy, a manager who respected boundaries instead of testing them. I rented a small apartment in Capitol Hill. From the window, you could see the water if you leaned just right. The rent was ridiculous. I paid it anyway. Some things are worth choosing without permission. Daniel visited the second weekend. We wandered Pike Place pretending to be tourists, laughed at overpriced chowder, let silence exist without rushing to fill it. Easy, honest, no pressure to define what we were before we understood it ourselves. Ethan texted twice after I left. The first was an apology for showing up at Dave's, saying his sister had gotten him home safely and that he'd increased his therapy sessions. The second came a week later, longer, calmer. He said he understood why I left, that he wished me happiness. I replied with one sentence. Thank you, I wish you well too. That was it. Clean, final. Months passed. I heard through friends that Ethan deleted his social media, that he threw himself into work, that Lena was long gone. I hope therapy helped him. Genuinely. My mother asked if I had any regrets. I thought about it carefully before answering. I regret not trusting my instincts sooner, I said, but I don't regret letting him go. Because dignity matters. Daniel and I became official without ceremony. No dramatic declarations, just a quiet conversation over coffee about deleting dating apps and planning a future that felt mutual, not conditional. He's moving to Seattle in January. We're looking at 2-bedroom apartments, talking about getting a dog. Last month, I saw Ethan's engagement announcement through a mutual friend's story. Different woman, different ring, different promises. I felt nothing, and that told me everything. When someone says they need time, what they're often asking for is freedom without consequence. I gave Ethan that, but I didn't stay behind waiting. Because the moment you choose yourself, some doors close forever. And that's not loss, that's growth.